to Sports Khabri, and yeah, got some interesting stuff to discuss today. We've got this big game against between Manchester City and Spurs. 12:30 kickoff, 12:30 a.m. kickoff here in India. It's huge for a lot of reasons, of course. Arsenal's biggest rivals in the league are sort of, we need a favor from them, and we don't know if we're going to get it. Adi, Spurs are going into this game with one win in their last five league games. City, on the other hand, of course, have been dominant. They get the job done more often than not. Um, Incredible title race because at the moment City are a point behind Arsenal. They've got a game in hand. They win this, they go 2 points ahead, and then we go to the last day of the season. But do you think we're going to get any favor from Spurs tonight at all?
I mean, dude, yeah, it's the hope, dude. That's the hope. Again, Spurs, have to play because they're also chasing for Europe. I think that's the only, benefactor where we can think
Yeah.
about, okay, even though like they have something to play for, so at least in that sense they'll have to win. The intent is going to be there to win. But again, even City has something to play for, so it's going to go down to equality on the day, and but yeah, you never know. Like that's how the Premier League is, right? You would expect an easy City win, or you might expect City to win because the form, City playing for the title while Spurs one win in 5 games. To be fair, they played all the top, I mean, the so-called top teams in the past 3-4 games, right? They played Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. Uh, so there itself, they've lost again, top opposition. So they again have pressure to win. So I just hope like the result goes to our favor. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Piyush, hi, how are you doing? It's been a while since we spoke, but not much has changed. It's still Arsenal and Manchester City. The title race is still on, and let's before we talk about Manchester City, I just want to ask you about Spurs because there's a lot of chatter online that Spurs should probably lose this game so that Arsenal don't end up winning the title. But regardless, like Adi said, there's still a push. There can be a push for a Champions League place because they're 5 points behind Villa with the game in hand, and it could go to the final day if they win this game against City. You think Spurs are going to really give City a run for their money?
Kind of agree with what Adi was referring to. I mean, no matter what fans want, I think players, when they step onto that field, I don't think they think that way. I mean, the first tackle that goes into the body and everything goes out of the window, and I think Spurs will be up for it. And rightly pointed out that they have a top four finish in their hands right now, and I don't think it's in their hand right now, but they're going to take their chances. And I don't expect Spurs to give us any favors. I mean, contrary to what their fans want, I don't think players are thinking that way, or players would think that way for me.
Hmm. Are you feeling nervous, Piyush, today?
Not actually. I'm quite relaxed, and this comes down from a very accepted fact that I have in my mind that whoever wins this league, I think it would be a very deserved winner for me. I mean, the kind of pressure that these players have been put, they've been they've been through a ringer for like 6 to 7 months, and for whatever reason, if City drops points today or Arsenal does not. So for me, whoever wins would be a deserved winner. I am very relaxed because I think City has every facet to kind of explain to me that they're going to win it. But it's okay if we lose. I mean, after I can't ask anything more from the players or not the manager, because I think they have done enough for me this year. Coming back from a treble winning season, to expect them to win again, and when everyone was doubting them, we didn't have De Bruyne for like most of our season. We didn't have John Stones for like 3 quarters of a season. Haaland was not performing in the early days, and so like after whatever we have experienced this season, to come to this point where we are nearing a 90-point season again. I mean, I am more than content with whatever is happening. So if even if it's Arsenal, to contrary to most of the City fans, even if Arsenal wins, I mean, they deserve to win this time for me.
Okay. Fair enough. I think I'm on the same boat where I think if either team wins, I don't think, and no, not a lot of people will be complaining. I think both teams fairly deserve to win the title if they do. Rishi, but you're in a tough situation because you've got Manchester City on one side, you've got Arsenal on one side. Both teams, I'm sure you hate at some level. So, who do you rather see winning the title?
For me, I have known Arsenal fans and I have had a more deep rooted rivalry and hatred towards Arsenal than City. Like, of course, City, right from the Pellegrini times or the Noisy Neighbors times of 2011, they've won one or two league titles, but they became relevant more after Pep's second season. So up until then, they weren't as relevant as they are today. And moreover, the whole footballing, the whole state backing reason, I don't like. Of course, no one is denying that they are or they are not. They're, if not the best, they are definitely the top two or three footballing clubs. Purely from a footballing standpoint, they are the best team in the world. But at least for me, in the grand scheme of things, when you look at like where their owners come from, how they get their money, like what kind of club they are, the whole City football group, that just negates the whole thing. Like for me, Arsenal winning would be a lot more. It would be a kick in the gut because they are like a more traditional rivals, a more long-standing rival. So when you see them operate the way a football club should operate and get that kind of success, that means a lot more as a pure footballing fan, and that would hurt me a lot more than City winning. Like of course, Pep has been coming up with the most. He has been changing. He's been the pioneer for the tactics. But for me to see that they have a lot more cushioned, comfortable state. Like they have a lot more. They don't have any. What are their worries? So for me, that somewhat negates the rivalry towards City as compared to Arsenal.
Piyush, have something to say to that?
I mean, people from United are very hypocrite, I must say. When Sheikh Jassim was approaching their ownership, everybody was latching on to that oil money. But now, when City has Sheikh Mansour, people are calling us all sorts of things. I mean, I'm not pointing out to anyone, but it's okay. I mean, we are used to it. I don't expect anything else from a United fan. I know they're going to treat us like little boys. So we are nearing to that trophy cabinet sooner.
Yeah, yeah, but doesn't look like United winning any trophies at the moment. But yeah, at least for now, Rishi, unfortunately. Adi, okay, let's talk about Spurs City because how does a Spurs team play against Manchester City? Do you think Postecoglou is going to stick to his high line stuff where he's basically saying, "Come, use your pace, use the players you've got on the counter and hit me," or is it going to be something different from it?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I haven't watched much Spurs games, but whenever I see them against the big teams, right, like even when you saw them with 10 men against Chelsea, they still kept the high line, they still kept the same pressure. Uh, you know, you can say that's a double-edged sword. It can be good for you, and you can actually attack your opponents, play with the same philosophy. Also, it can hurt you if you have the quality, you have the pace and behind. It's also going to hurt you. But one thing I think with City is they're not much of a counter-attacking team compared to, they like building up, they like playing through the defenses, right? So, for example, City, if you're going to sit and park the bus against City, I feel like that's the game which is more comfortable for them. So, Spurs coming out and, playing their high press generally, especially playing at home, I think they're going to go, the same old philosophy with how, Ange has been playing this entire season. So I don't think they're going to soak up the pressure, try to hit on the counter. They might have to do it a bit more today because, again, at the end of the day, quality matters, right? So City, at the end of the day, we know will dominate the ball most of the time. So they might have to sit based on game state because, if you don't have the ball, you tend to sit back anyways. But also, I believe they're going to still have a higher, uh, block. I don't think they're going to sit so deep in. So I think if they're pressing in the midfield and especially the front three again by pressing high, trying to win over turnovers and trying to score is the only way I can see that happening. But
Yeah.
yeah, see, dude, it's just let's see what
But
happens. But
yeah,
There's
Adi,
this-
I would want to ask you one thing. I mean, don't you think how are they going to press? I mean, they don't have Werner. I guess Werner is out. I think Richarlison is also out.
No
So
Richarlison.
they only have Johnson and Son, and I think Son, if he does not play
They
in
have
the wings, I think
Kulusevski also.
Kulusevski, Kulu is there, but Son, if he does not play on the wings, I think he is useless for me. Also, the midfield. I mean, Højbjerg. I think people are telling me Højbjerg is going to start. I mean, that guy has been horrible this season. I mean, they are going to miss. I think they're missing Sar as well as the early season. Whatever the player's name was, I don't remember. I don't recall the other player who was playing with
Bissouma.
Sar. Bissouma. I think he's also out of form. Also, Udogi and Poro were very pivotal in the way Ants played. And since Udogi has been injured, I think he has not been the same. That the chemistry has not been the same. Madison is also out of form. So I just don't see how they play the way they played earlier this season.
I mean,
That
in
makes
terms of
me a bit more confident. Yeah.
sorry to no, in terms of quality, yeah, there's going to be a huge gap because you don't have your main fullback with Udogi now. You don't have your who's playing on the left, Werner. I mean, but again, you look at Werner, he joined in midway the season again.
I think Werner is
First-
injured, bro.
No, I'm saying Werner came in in the second half of the season, right? So Spurs still played the so-called Son, Johnson, and Kulusevski in the top three. And it's more about quality of pressing might decrease in terms of maybe you don't get the pressing, you never get the pressing from
Correct.
Son that much, right?
Correct.
But again, it's more about how their midfield presses and how their wing backs press. So you can see that Udogi and Poro used to always play very high. Person has changed, but I think it's about the philosophy, right? So even if the quality decreases, the manager still sticks to his principles. It's similar to how Deserby plays. Like you take out the player, the quality of the player, but you're still going to play the same role. The role doesn't change. Even if you have a guy who's the slower now, because left back, you'll have Davis. He's not that guy who can press, continuously. So even though that's going to happen, they're still going to play the same philosophy. Again, I mean, when I watched them play against Arsenal, it was the same philosophy, right? And against Liverpool, also a team where generally teams go and park the bus in Anfield, right? But there again, they played high line. It affected them obviously, but like they still play the high line. They played, going attacking. They dominate the position in the first half also. So I just think, on terms of quality, yeah, they don't have their first team players, but the point is the manager is going to stick to his principles, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to change. That's where I'm coming from.
Fair enough. Just taking a few comments. Shan, yeah, we spoke about Werner's unavailability. Piyush mentioned that itself. Arun saying City will draw tonight and lose the league on goal difference, which is weirdly my feeling. I don't think they're going to lose today or draw today. I think they're going to draw to West Ham. I don't know why, but it's just a feeling. But yeah, Siddharth saying not in this decade. I think he's referring to Piyush City catching up United in terms of trophy count. So
I know that United lobby. So it's, I mean,
yeah.
We'll see. If Pep extends his tenure, we'll be a lot closer than what United thinks.
Yeah, fair enough. Rishi, what do you expect from this one?
I mean,
Is this the title decider? Because Gary Neville has called it the title decider. Is it for you?
You can pretty much say that, although the Premier League final day has always produced some absolute bangers, even the season where City had won up over Liverpool, I think Liverpool were initially losing the game to Villa and then they came back to win it. There were all sort of combinations happening in the last day. So you can't entirely write off that final, the ultimate game day, drama also. But I think this pretty much seals the game when you look at the fixtures that are coming in the final match day, because West Ham have been leaking goals left, right, center. They just haven't found a way. Although I think they came back from 2 goals down in the previous game, if I'm not wrong, but they again shipped 2 or 3 goals. That has been the story for West Ham for the last 2-3 game weeks at least. And even in the press conference, I heard David Moyes saying the stuff like, I think it'll be hard to stop City's under 14s from scoring. That's the kind of mentality they are also having. Like, I think they've also come to terms with the fact that this is more of a damage limitation than, some salvaging point. So if anything, to be very realistic, to date, this pretty much decides, at least in City's case, as to what goes on
Okay.
for them.
Interesting. Piyush, who starts for you on the left-hand side, Doku or Grealish?
have a very different opinion to this. I think both of them does not start with it. For me,
Okay.
I'll
So
tell you
Bernardo
why.
and
I think,
Foden.
yeah. I think
Okay.
because Kovacic has been, I mean, he has been the player of the season for me in terms of the second of the season. The balance that guy gives to City's midfield is something very important to what Pep wants in that team. So I think if he wants to play Kovacic, Rodri, and De Bruyne together, I think Doku and Grealish both miss out, and I think Foden starts on the left and Bernardo on the right. For me, Haaland up top. What do you guys think? Do you think he'd start Grealish or Doku?
Oh, I actually, for one, I thought Kovacic was brilliant last game against Fulham. I thought he was probably City's best player. So I think, yeah, Kovacic starts for me as well. Adi?
Uh, dude, I don't know with Pep. Pep always has the shuffles everything. You ask me who's going to start in defense. You can say Diaz can start. He might not start. Ake might start. You
Correct.
never know with him. So
Correct.
it's pretty
What
much.
is the state with Ake's injury, by the way?
I
Ake
think
pulled up.
Yeah. I think he is
He
missing.
trained, or
He
did he miss the
trained?
train itself?
I don't know. I think the last I heard it was like it's a precautionary move. I think he's going to miss this match. But
Okay.
it doesn't matter. I trust City's back four anyhow. I mean, Akanji would straight away slot in with Guardiola and Diaz, and on the right side we have Walker. So
Yeah.
any four is
Fair enough.
okay for me.
Fair enough. Yeah,
I
Adi,
think
Kovacic.
I think just for the fact that Pedro Porro bombs up and down has been a lot of, like, so much of an attacking threat. I think he might just start Grealish, because he tracks back a lot. If not at least dribbling, and the end product for Grealish, the one thing that you can expect from him is tracking back and not missing out on your fullback, leaving your fullback with a 1v1. So I think at least in that sense, it would make a lot more sense that Grealish starts.
Very valid point. Very well.
Yeah, but I personally would play Doku only for the fact that I'd have an extra outlet. For example, if I'm especially exploiting, Tottenham's high line, you see again the game against Liverpool, Arsenal, the way we scored, the way Liverpool scored was all counter attacks. And for example, you're playing Bernardo and Foden, both are dropping in to get the ball, receive the ball. Your outlets maybe will be De Bruyne and Haaland, which is again good enough. They're elite, but just my personal perspective, I'd still play Doku, because in terms of tracking back, again, I feel like Doku can do the job. And playing left wing or right wing, I'm not sure where he'll end up playing, because again, like Pep likes shuffling both the sides. For example, you have Guardiola and Walker. With Rodri screening the defense, you still have the defensive assurance, right? And anyways, what I've seen through City is they like pressing a high. Like they don't like, like if you want to compare Arsenal and City, Arsenal don't press in the midfield. They rather sit back and take in the pressure. But while City, they like pressing in the midfield. They like pressing high, trying to get the ball, turnover possession in the, in the opponent's half, which you can do, especially with, again, you can do that, especially with Tottenham trying to play out from the back a lot. And what I've seen is they do suffer from playing out from the back. The goalkeeper is not that great on the ball. You can always find some mistakes from him. You can always find some mistakes from even Romero and the both centre backs, basically. So having Doku is just a bit of extra legs, which could help. But I still think I would, rather prefer like Doku or Grealish starting, because I'd rather have the natural, at least one natural winger. But again, I can see Pep also going with, two midfielders, basically Bernardo and what do you call him, Foden on the wings, and again keep that midfield of Kovacic, KDB, and Rodri. I can see that happening also.
I mean, there are 2 points that I think he's not going to play either of them, is because one, he wants a controlled midfield, which Kovacic gives, and there is no other player in City's roster who could play that role. Also, if you guys have noticed in last 3 or 4 games how high Guardiola plays. I mean, he is literally a winger right now for City. When Guardiola plays so up, City plays like they play back three with shield of Rodri, and then they have Kovacic, and then those 3 players like Bernardo, De Bruyne, and Foden, they rotate from their positions. And Guardiola is always very up, so he's always pushing the right back of the other team to their own side. So that's my philosophy, and I think that is the reason he's going to opt for
But
Kovacic.
But you look at Guardiola, who's played, you're saying he's been very good. But again, you look at the game state of the teams, right? Like what they've played are all bottom half teams. Fulham, Luton Town, Wolves. They've all been struggling, and they've not had that. They don't have that attacking threat, right? So that's how Guardiola gets that freedom, because Man City are dominating half, like 80% of the possession. But then again, in these big games, like I remember the game against Crystal Palace, where it was Crystal Palace scored the first goal. Sorry, Mateta, right? Not Mateta.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mateta,
but
Mateta.
no.
Mateta, yeah, Mateta scored. So in that game where he actually struggled when he was pinned down, right? That game, it was Jordan Ayew and Munoz who was playing on the right hand side, and that time he didn't have the same freedom. I remember Grealish playing left higher up the pitch, De Bruyne playing in the left hand space where they like Guardiola didn't have the freedom to play that. I think
Even in the Fulham game in the second half, when the minute Adama Traore came on, for like initially till the winger had to draw back, like Guardiola was basically pinned down properly, because this guy, Adama was basically used as their outlet. Like you could see
but
him into the byline.
Decode Overeed started that game and he wasn't great in the first half. I think that also allowed Guardiola to get higher up and play with a little more because I think Decode Overeed really struggled.
But
And
who
City's-
plays on the right for Tottenham? I think it's
Kulusevski and Pedro
Kulusevski,
Porro.
yeah.
so.
The thing is,
Kulusevski-
But Pedro Porro is going to
Very
occupy
high.
that space. Exactly.
He plays very high. I remember against
Kulusevski
Arsenal.
always tends to cut in more, and Porro will be the
Porro will
more
be
of
the
a
outside.
line.
And this is an interesting thing. There's actually an interesting shot for Doku, I think. Piyush, I want to ask you as well because Pedro Porro is going to bomb ahead. He's going to leave space in behind. And wouldn't you be tempted to play Doku in this one?
No, and coming back, I have my reservations with Doku. I mean, all the games that Doku has started, he has been very ineffective for me. I mean, the time he comes off the bench, it is then he shows his true colors. Because apart from like the one game where he got 4 assists, I think it was against Bournemouth or some team against in very early in the season. I think he has been very poor when he starts, and also I don't think Tottenham are going to have that much of a ball which they usually have. I think City is going to control the possession. No matter where we play, we are going to have the ball. So I think Porro, he's very dangerous, but I think City are very apt in tackling that threat as well. For me.
Okay. Fair enough. Rishi, predictions for this one. What do you think happens here? Arun Pandey saying 1-0 Spurs, 3-0 Spurs. I mean, there's an overwhelming, I think, Manchester United support in the chat, or Arsenal support. I don't know, but yeah.
I don't think either teams are going to keep a clean sheet. Or if anything, it's going to be City who are going to keep a clean sheet. They're going to be lock down the defense. They have much more physical players who are not just big bulky dudes, who are also fast. Like Walker can match pace and power. So does Guardiola, and both the centre backs are also not the slowest. I think if anything, it's going to be Spurs with their all in or nothing philosophy, who are going to bomb front and leave acres of space for City to exploit. And the kind of football that City play also, they can easily just play out of the press, even in the first 2 phases where they'll absorb the press, and Spurs are totally gonna fall for the bait. They're gonna go try and overload either side, and they're gonna open up spaces a lot, and which City are gonna exploit. So I don't see any other way other than but it's definitely gonna be entertaining. It's definitely gonna be end-to-end stuff. And there are going to be a lot of goals, at least somewhat like 4-1, 4-2, 5-1. But it's definitely not going to be some like a boring 1-0 or a boring 1-all.
Interesting. Guys, Adi, predictions for this?
Bro, I think it might be a draw. I think it can be weirdly a lot of 1-all.
Okay.
I actually, again, like, to be fair, I don't know. I mean, like, I can't give you a prediction. Rather see Spurs win, Tottenham win, but like it's a weird game. Like anything can happen. Like,
okay, Shantanu saying 3-1 City. Piyush.
Also, the interesting thing is, I don't think I've ever like even when I'm looking at Twitter, I'm seeing all the Spurs fans. And I'm speaking to Spurs fans. They're all like, even though they have potentially Europe to play for, they're all like, you know what? No, we don't want Europe. Even if they, all of them are saying, even if they go to the Champions League with the squad they have, with maybe one or two additions, they're gonna get flogged. All of them are saying they're gonna get flogged. They're gonna get absolutely beaten to pulp in the Champions League. So all of them have been like, no, if we want to go into the Europa League with the new additional rule that Champions League clubs cannot fall back into the Europa League, they're like, let's take that cup more seriously. And which I feel, okay, that's a realistic thing, but it's moreover from the hatred towards. So I've been asking fans like, what happens? Like, so if City score, are the Tottenham supporters going to cheer it? Or if the Tottenham players score, if they take the lead, what are they going to do? Are they going to
Bro,
boo their
trust
own?
me, they're gonna cheer. I just
They,
know
they,
it.
together
It's
they are going
been
to do
such an
pause them.
unprecedented, I can't remember the last time anything of such deep-rooted hatred and alternate agendas happening at the same time.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I mean, there's this guy Orno Banerjee in the chat. He's saying 3-1 City. He has an Arsenal crest in his as his DP. I mean, I don't know what to say, but yeah, Piyush, scores for you for this.
So I agree with what Rishi is saying. I don't see clean sheets today. I feel Spurs are going to score, and I think it is going to be 3-1 for me, 3-1 City for me. And I hope City scores first because it's going to settle a lot of nerves. But if we go down, I think going to expect a lot of nervy butterflies throughout the match. I just hope City wins, and I feel it's going to be 3-1.
Okay. Okay, there's a conversation to be had about Arsenal as well. Adi, regardless of whether City slip up or not today, we still go to the final day of the season, and Arsenal still need to get the job done. You think Arsenal comfortably get the job done against Everton at home?
Yeah, both teams have to win the last regardless. So even if you see City winning today or City winning today, or even with a draw or even with a loss, we know the title goes to Sunday. So I think we have to concentrate more about the West Ham game also because you never know. Like, City slip up that game, even a draw, by whatever odds they just draw the game, and Arsenal win that game. You might see Arsenal winning the Premier League with a higher goal difference. So I guess this is more of just setting up for the final day, anyways. Uh, to be fair, like West Ham Everton games are the more important games for both teams, regardless, because that's the final day and that's where you'll either lift the trophy or not, right? So I'd expect both teams to win that game, because it's going to be the final day. So I think this is just going to set the tone for that day. I think if City win today, I think Arsenal is still going to win in terms of no pressure now, maybe. But if City don't win, there's going to be more pressure on Arsenal also. For example, even though City losing today, job's not done because it's
Yeah.
when you have to do, and you can
That's-
always have weird things. You never know. Like City draw today, it's we're equal on points. You might have 2013 all over again, right? So you just never know. That's the thing.
No, that's the thing, right? If Arsenal do end up, sorry, if City end up drawing today, do you see Arsenal winning the last game because of the pressure?
I expect both teams to win on the last day, regardless.
Okay, interesting. Piyush, you think it's there is a lot of sort of people are just leaving the last day to it. They're just saying both Arsenal and City want to get the job done, but there is a lot of pressure, and there will be a lot of yeah. It's not going to be easy, and people are
No,
taking it for
no.
granted. I feel.
I'll tell you why. Because I think Arsenal fans have never experienced such a pressure that they're going to experience on the last day. We have, as a City fan, twice. Once the famous Aguero moment, and the other the Aston Villa uh, last day showdown. So I know, as a fan, even though I'm not in the stadium, watching that thing on the last day and hoping that your team wins, the pressure that you feel is so much. And I have a very contrarian view to that. I think if both the teams were playing away, that Arsenal would have, the game that Arsenal plays would have suited them more. I think the pressure that Arsenal will experience because of the expectation from the fan, it is going to be something very difficult. And I'm going to tell you again, I mean, Everton are not any mug, because they are peaking at the right time. Also, the form that Pickford and Tarkowski are in, I think it is going to be very difficult for Arsenal. And if Saka misses that game, trust me, it would be candies for me.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be very interesting. Before I leave you guys, just one question: Rishi, Adi, and Yush, all three of you, who wins the league? Rishi, we'll start with you. We'll start with Rishi.
I think City will win the league just by, like, they have the easier final day game. Although I can't say for sure because Everton, like, yeah, they are peaking at the right time, but they don't pretty much have anything to play for. Like,
Play
they're
for yeah, they're nothing to
they're
play for.
they're, they're secure. They're not in the relegation battle anymore. But you see, West Ham, although okay, it is like they are probably eighth, or they will, even if they finish seventh, they have a chance to catch up with United or end up above United. That means they'll have a shot at the Conference League. Plus, when you have the possibility of giving David Moyes a fitting send off, you could say that
Mhm.
West Ham could slightly be more up for it than Everton. Like Everton, okay, they'll, as professional players, they will be up for it, but I don't think they don't have any particular objective or any reward. Like, okay, if they had a relegation battle to fight, if they had survival to fight for, or if they had a potential, top four finish, then I'd say, yeah, they and of course the Sean Dyche mentality, that would add to a lot more than what Everton have right now. So I think,
Okay.
so these two factors are quite contradicting it. I'm not able to, like, say for sure who's going to win, but like purely from the fact that City have been there, they've been in, like, they're more equipped, I'd say, to handle these pressure situations. I think they just about edge over Arsenal.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Adi.
Arsenal.
Okay. Solid. That
What else
confidence.
can I say? Like I
Yeah,
can't
that
say.
Yeah,
confidence.
yeah. What is you
What do you
saying?
want me to say?
No, but good. I mean, there was confident answer, dude. I mean, not a lot of Arsenal fans will just say it. But yeah, Piyush.
For me, City. But I would just like to point out what Rishi was saying. I mean, yeah, I agree to what you're saying, but the thing with Everton is that they're not going to play any game. They're going to sit there. They're going to have a very low block, and they're going to defend very much. It is something which Arsenal has not experienced yet for a longer time now, because they are playing against those big teams who like to play football. Everton, on the contrary, would just sit, and I just don't see West Ham doing anything. I think they are still they are already on the beaches. They are just there for the party. So for me, if City were to face Everton, I would be more nervous. That's my point.
Then you see both of them are done, right, with the season. Like if you're saying
Yeah,
West Ham
exactly.
Yeah,
are
but,
out,
but
like even Everton's is going
my
to be the
my
same thing.
point is bro, like the way Everton is set up is very different to what West Ham is going to do. So if West Ham
Both,
tries to
both
play
Both
anything,
play low blocks, and also Piyush, Arsenal have faced a lot of low blocks this season. Like,
no,
they've
of course
played
they have.
Wolves,
Like
they've
my
played
point was
Brentford.
my point was lately, like 3, 4, 5 games where they're constantly playing big teams. They're performing very good. So that was my point. Like they have not experienced like these 3, 4 weeks a team which is just playing for a low block. They don't need anything. They are already through to the next season. But I just see an Everton upset there. I just see it.
Okay.
Okay, but Piyush, tell me this: like, as a City fan, would you rather play a team that lets you have the ball, that lets you play your game, or a team that kind of disrupts your harmony? So if you're playing now, would you rather play a team that just sits back, let City have the ball, which they are more than happy doing, or would you end up taking a team that presses right from the front, makes City uncomfortable? Because that's the
That
case that's going to happen with Everton. Like, Arsenal are more than happy having the ball, like, rotating the players, interchanging their positions, even if they get set pieces. Arsenal are brilliant when it comes to set pieces also.
Of course. Nee,
Would like
my point was just it is going to be a difficult game. I'm not saying Arsenal is going to lose or something like that. I'm just saying from what I see as a fan, I think West Ham compared to an Everton on the last day where Arsenal have to experience that thing that they have never ever experienced. It is going to be a very tough game because they're going to sit deep, and if the game goes deep into the timings and Arsenal are yet to have scored any goals, it is going to be difficult for them. That was my point. And alluding, I would like a team against City who plays a football, because we've seen what low blocks team do to City. Classic example is what Real Madrid did to us. They did not do anything. They had just one shot on the second leg at the Etihad, just one shot, and they scored.
That you can say is very debatable because knockout football is all about moments, right? Like when it comes to league, how sustainable is that? Like even you can say even the previous season when Real Madrid tried playing, setting up a low block and hitting City on the counter, you guys were able to play through them. It's all about when it comes to knockout football. I don't think you can pretty much say that low block always works because
No.
in moments like that, like when you have a potential penalty shootout also or away goals which used to previously be there, you can say that like of course low blocks will work more often than not. Low blocks do work in champion, like at least in knockout competitions, I feel, at least, than league football.
I agree to what you're saying, bro. I'm just saying that naturally how they set up that Everton team is very different to what a West Ham would do. So West Ham, they have those attacking players who likes to go forward. For example, Paqueta, they have Kudos, they have Bowen. So there are naturally those spaces where City could work. And on the other hand, Everton, they just sit deep. So for me, the point was like if the game goes to the decider and the first half passes by and Everton has somehow stopped Arsenal, the pressure that Arsenal would feel is something that they have never experienced, and that is going to be very difficult to negate for me. So if City were in that position, if City were in that position and Everton was there, I would be more nervous. This is my point.
Fair enough.
Yes, boys. Thanks for
Rahul,
joining
what's your
everyone.
prediction? A solid
My
yes or
prediction,
no yes?
of course, Arsenal winning, man. I mean, at least just to say it, I have to be confident in your team, and I really, I don't know why, but I've always gotten the feeling throughout these few weeks that there is a City up, there's an upset somewhere here. There's no reason for it. I don't think you can really put this down to, oh, because of this, there's going to be a draw. I think it just happens in football. I think that's the beauty of any sport, that you can have things like this. You can have these incredible stories. So I think there's an incredible story brewing here for Arsenal at least. So I'm just going to be hopeful. Thanks, Piyush, for joining. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Adi, Rishi as well.
Thank you so much.
Guys, please do like and share the video. Subscribe to the channels as well. A very good night. Thanks so much.
See you guys.
Cheers.